Welcome back to Listen Motherfucker. We have another episode here with Ariel, so I can pronounce it the proper way.
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
My own fault.
Yeah, well, you know how many people pronounce my name Tad, Thaddeus?
I've heard some other names.
Yeah. Asshole is yeah. There's a lot. So I asked you to partake. You and I have known each other, not close, but have known each other for a long time, and we have engaged for whatever reason in maybe even on Facebook in political conversations.
Yes.
So we're going to do a topic today on politics in the United States because they're fucked. I have a full page of notes that I'm going to read from and ask your opinion on. I'm going to a bunch of this to me is in generalities, and then we can finish up with the current state of things. The way these go, it'll probably be in the next 5 minutes. We somehow stumble into the current state of things. How can we not?
Sure.
But do you have personal experience in politics? I mean, have you ran for politics or like been in anything like that?
I've never run for office. I've of course, like anybody else says, God, I could do that job better than this guy.
Oh, fuck.
Who hasn't, right? I've actually only know one person personally that's ever run for office. It's a friend of mine, but no, I've never have. But the closest I think I ever came was like I just never took it serious. But like when I lived in Seattle was to do like a city council thing because there's such a mess.
Yeah.
But no, I've never been.
Got it.
I bitch more than I vote, right? I vote, but I bitch. Yeah.
We all do.
Yes.
We all do.
I always think if you don't vote, you don't get the right to bitch. So.
That's true.
Yes.
So my first thing here is I think that a two-party system is insanity. I think that we should have, how many different times to whether it's in a divorce or a business loss, who knows, right? You have a mediator. So it's almost like if there was a third party that was in the middle, not only would it give people somewhere else to go, because I hear people that talk about this person being too far right, but this person's a conservative, but they're moderate. This person's a liberal, but they're moderate. Okay, well, if you just had an independent party in the fucking middle, or you could call it whatever, I don't care what you called it. I'm going to refer to it as independent because that's what's easiest for me. It seems like not only would it give people a different option, it would almost demand, by its existence, it would demand a little bit more accountability from the other two sides.
I think so. The population of the United States is 340 million people, about. Okay? Of that group, obviously, anybody over 18 is allowed to vote. You're telling me that of that number, let's say it's 100 million or whatever the number is of legally voting able people, that two people can represent that entire group,
right?
Of whoever you are, I don't care that it's a Democrat or Republican. And many have tried, right? We have these fringe parties. You have a Green Party, you have an Independent Party. You have, we just got our little local election thing in the mail that's sitting on our kitchen table, and I just looked at.
There's almost
38 guys voting for
governor, right? For governor.
And did you read the parties? So there's Democrats, there's Republicans. There's like prefers Trump Republican Party. Then there's another one that says anti-establishment party, Unite America Party. I don't even know who these parties are, but some of them I think they just made shit up.
Yeah.
The system. The problem is I think, and I could be wrong, but I think you have to have 2% or more of the votes to get on the ballot. as a different party.
Okay.
So that's why in the U.S. election, sometimes the Green Party or the Independent Party just hits that number and gets on there, but you can't really take it serious. There's not enough people that really. I think it was the last election. Jill Stein was running for the Green Party, right? And she got 2% of the votes to get on the ballot, but
it's money.
It is, of course. So, it's money, and you know, the Democrats and Republicans are always going to block out anybody that's considered a threat to that existence, right? Because if you bring another one in, that's going to take votes away from them.
And money.
Yeah, and money, exactly. So right now it's an election year. We're 100 days from today is the election. Okay, I was listening to the news on the way up here.
Okay.
I didn't know it was exactly 100, but it is. Exactly 100 from today. There are two candidates that are obviously running, Harris and Trump, which has just changed from Biden.
It has, yes.
But there's fringe guys, right? You have RFK running, okay? He's your independent guy that's running. Why do you not hear more about RFK? And I'm not saying I agree with him, because I don't, but there will never be, at least I can't perceive of it happening, of an independent or green or what, even, like you said, name it, whatever party you want, call it whatever, the third party. I don't care, whatever you want to call it. I don't think there's ever going to be another third party that's ever going to be, I guess, given the open door to be part of the U.S. electoral system, because it's a threat to what we only know as two-party system. It's broken. Mm-hmm. The system's broken. Like I talked about once before with the Israeli system, that's 50-something parties, that's broken. I'm not saying I know what the answer is, but it's certainly not two.
Well, no, and I think in my brain I have the solution, but the reality is and I'm not saying that I want a civil war, because I don't, but I mean, when it comes down to money, I think that there should be a limit on the funds that you can have for your campaign. I think that the United States, I would be fine with my tax dollars. We spend so much money on so much shit and send so much money to all over the world. I think that if you have won your primary, or however that works, and you're like, okay, here's a Democrat, the Republican, and the independent. You three get to run for this real office, and you are each given $50 million by the government. Right, you don't get... it's illegal to donate to these, because now you're just muddying the water with, in my opinion, it's just getting muddy and ugly.
Well, everybody who runs, whether it's the highest office like presidents or whatever, and to local levels like city councils and local mayors and all that, it's all the same formula, right? You're bought and paid for no matter whether you say you are. Special interests, unions, industries, whatever it is,
right?
You're bought and paid for, right? So I've always said, the only person who is the perfect candidate for what you believe in is yourself. Okay? Because the only person that believes exactly what you believe is yourself. Mm-hmm. Not your wife, not your kids, not whatever, because they have their own opinions. Okay? And so there is no such thing as a perfect candidate, perfect party, a perfect election. There's none of that. You, me, anybody voting has to find the person that leans the way closest to what you believe in and what's important or passionate to you. And that's who you have to vote for.
Do you think we should limit the amount of money that they get to run?
Maybe. I think there's a lot of things that are broken. So I think our system, we need to have term limits for senators, congressmen.
Yeah, that was number 2 on my notes.
So even the Supreme Court, you get these guys in the Supreme Court that you get a lifetime.
No, Supreme Court should not be lifetime.
Exactly. There should be.
Even if it was 25 years.
No, it's fine.
But it's not lifetime.
Exactly. There should be. Look, people age out. You just witnessed it happen with
yes.
Biden. Okay, people age out. He's this frail man that may or may not have dementia, depending on who you ask, that clearly aged out of office and probably has been that way for a very long time. So the Supreme Court, you have senators, you have congressmen. These guys are dying. Look at what's her name that died in California last year. She what the hell was her name? whatever her name is, they were wheelchairing her in.
Yeah.
Okay. And telling her, hey, this next one comes up, vote yes.
I think that if a president has a term limit of 8, then any senator or congressman shouldn't get more than 16.
That's fine. I have no problem with that. That's a great number.
And it should be offset so that it's always, you know what I mean, that you potentially have the differences in administrations and groups that hold the majority, that you're always setting it up that it could be somewhat balanced. Maybe it isn't based on what's going on, but you're at least allowing that it's possible.
Yes.
And the other part of that I truly believe in, let's say that 16 was a number. If you were a senator or a congressman or House of Representatives, whatever, if you were 16 years, you don't get that salary and benefits for the rest of your fucking life. If you serve for 16 years, then you get it for an additional 8. Or for the president, fine. You get Secret Service because the office is so extreme that there can be a handful of offices that are significant enough that you get paid and you get protected for the rest of your life because it benefits the country to do so. But for Congress,
her name was. It came to me. This is Dianne Feinstein.
Yes,
they put her in a wheelchair and wheeled her in to vote. When you look at that, you look at guys like Schumer and you look at guys like Bernie Sanders, these old people, and they die in office. Okay, how is that a representation of what people are? They're not. They're representing old ideas, not just age. They're representing ideas that are from their
exactly.
And the for some reason, and this isn't just an American thing. This is kind of lots of governments, right? You let these people stay and stay and stay without infusing some energy into government. Okay, government's flawed no matter where you go. There's no perfect system, right? But you can make it better by evolving. And I'm not saying I want an 18-year-old kid up there who doesn't know what the fuck how to wipe his ass yet. But at the same time, I don't need a 90-year-old up there who doesn't even know how to stand up anymore.
Well, and if you can't be president until you're 35,
right,
you shouldn't be able to run for president after you've turned 70.
I have no problem with that. Look, the guy.
There's got to be limits on both sides.
There is. No, we've just dealt with this, which is it's a very historic thing. Now people aren't talking about it because it's over with Biden, right? Now that they have a new candidate, but they have been propping up this guy for 3.5 years and saying he's fine.
And he's not.
And look, you don't have to be a fucking genius to see the guy can barely walk. He sits there and he stares into space. He forgot words. Jesus Christ, at the UN, he calls Zelensky Putin. Like there's 1,000 other things that he's done, right? And they just kept propping him up there, hoping it's going to get better. And finally it got to a point where they're just like, we can't do this anymore. It's so painfully obvious that we can no longer pull a charade on this, and we're going to put somebody else up. But that's went on way too long. Okay, if you're supposed to be this powerhouse country in the world, Jesus Christ, put somebody in office in the fucking brain. And when it comes to I'm all for term limits. Supreme Court, Congress, Senate, obviously President has it already.
But they make the laws. So how are we ever, as the people, how are we ever supposed to get those to exist if those are the people that literally have to?
You have to start. It starts at the bottom, and it's something that probably won't happen years of my lifetime, or maybe it will. I don't know, but it has to start from the bottom up, from local all the way up to full federal, where all the different levels of government, from your town local little mayor to a guy for a state governor to a local to a congressman or senator, all have to be on the same page that enough is enough. And you got to put there's going to be a lot of pride that has to be put aside and a lot of egos checked at the door that essentially have to say, we can't keep doing this because we don't make any progress. So you look at like what's going on in this country right now, and I know I'm jumping ahead, but you have the Senate is one party, the Congress is another party, and nothing gets done.
Nothing gets done.
So here's a bill, let's do it. Okay, Congress says we're going to do that bill. Senate says, fuck you. No, we don't. End of story. And nothing gets accomplished that way. So who suffers? We do.
We do.
Right. You think they still
and they continue to get reelected.
Right, exactly. And we keep electing the same morons over and over and over again. Okay, take this state for example.
Oh.
Okay,
we live in the state of Washington.
Yes.
We're referring to the state of Washington.
Yes. We are. Jay Inslee is our governor. Okay, even saying his name makes me sick. Okay, I will tell you, many years ago, not many years ago, when I used to live in Seattle, I go to the coffee shop on the weekends with my wife. It's a nice, relaxing start to the day. We're sitting in this coffee shop in Ballard, and in walks two people. Some older guy, and then a second dude with a gun on his side. And my wife looks at him and goes, "I know that guy." And I turn up and look, and I go, "Yeah, that's the governor." Inslee walked right into our coffee shop, little local coffee shop in Ballard. And I go, "I'll be right back." And I get up and I go, "I'm going to go talk to that guy and give him a piece of my mind." Because when are you ever going to have access to a governor right in front of your fucking face? And she grabs my arm and she goes, "That dude has a gun. It's obviously his bodyguard, which they're supposed to have." And she goes, "Please sit down. Don't cause a scene." And I did everything in my power to not go crazy on this guy. And I held back and I behaved like a nice person. But this dude has been in power for 3 straight elections. He's been in power. And all I've watched, I've lived here for 20 years. All I've ever watched is this state turn into a bigger pile of shit over and over and over again. I love it here. I'll live here for the rest of my life. But we have this political system, whether it's locally or federally, whatever, that is so backwards and broken. And again, I don't care. It's not a Democrat or Republican thing. It's just the quality of the people that are in office sucks so bad.
Yeah.
There's 340 million people. And these are the best people that we can put there out on the table and go, "Hey, this is what
I didn't want to vote for Trump or Biden.
There's some very smart people in this country, okay?
Yeah.
There's some with good ideas. But you know why those people never get elected? Because the people with shitty ideas push them aside.
Mm-hmm.
And people, unfortunately, blindly vote, not by the person's name.
By the party.
Is by the letter, whether it's a D or an R in front of their name. And until we can get away from that, okay, nothing's going to ever get done. I voted for Democrats. I voted for Republicans. Yeah, sure. I lean more to the right. It's fine. Okay? No problem. But I voted for Democrats because I get my election thing just like everybody else does. And maybe I go a little overboard. I research every single person that's running. All those 30 guys running for governor, I'm going to look every one of them up. Okay? I don't give a fuck what your party name is. I give a shit about what your idea is. What's going to make the place that I live in and care about better? And if some guy that I don't even know that says I'm the fucking dumbass party and his ideas are great, I'm going to vote for him.
Mm-hmm.
And I always take a picture of the ballot when I'm done. And then when the election's over, I look up every one of them to see how good I did. Okay? And the majority of the time, very few of my guys get voted. Okay? And that's fine. But I know that I researched who I want to vote for. Now, I didn't just blindly go, "Oh, that's a Republican. Oh, that's a Democrat." Oh, just circle and circle.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people just do that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And you have people need to start to learn to think for themselves, to actually open your mind up and say, "Yeah, okay, I'm a Democrat, but this Republican guy's got a good opinion. This independent guy, man, that guy knows what he's talking about," and not just blindly vote. I have friends that's how they are. Doesn't matter who's running or what their horrible ideas are. They got that letter D in front of them. They got that letter R in front of them. That's your dude. You know what I mean?
I know of families that haven't spoken to each other all over this kind of shit, which is just mind-blowing to me.
My brother, my older brother, had a very good friend that he grew up with. And years ago when Trump was elected, anybody of their group of friends that voted for him, he stopped talking to them. And until this day, has never said a word to any of them because of that. It's like, dude, everybody needs to tone down a little bit. You know what I mean? It's so divided over this. And instead of just saying, "Well, that guy is this extreme, this one is this extreme," and all that, just sit down and look, read, learn, understand what's out there and vote. And more things get done locally than they do nationally that affect you, right?
Yep.
So every town has a city council, every city has a mayor, every state has a governor, or whatever. That's where shit actually goes down, right? Yeah, there's federal things and laws, but I'd say for every 100 laws or things that get passed, how much of that actually trickles down to you? Very little of it,
Mm-hmm.
okay? Unless the news tells you it's important, you don't hear about it, right? there's things that affect people, sure, guns things and abortion and things that are, very sacred to people. And I respect anybody's opinions, whatever you feel, but locally, you realize how much power these local governments have. And this is where real change happens, is this grassroots level of your town city council and your local mayors and all. Because guess what? They're accessible. These are the people you can actually sit down with and talk to and actually get your 2 cents in, and maybe they'll listen. President's not going to give a fuck what I say.
The governor's not even going to listen.
No, exactly. But your council member will. And guess what? Where they live? In your town.
Right.
Your mayor is going to listen because they're in your town. So where I live, my neighborhood, once a month, the mayor goes to the farmer's market. And he just has a little booth there and he says, talk to your mayor. I think it's awesome.
That is awesome.
I do. And I appreciate it. This guy makes himself accessible to anybody that wants to come up to him and talk to him about what concerns him.
You ever talk to him?
I haven't. This just started. This just started 2 months ago. I haven't seen him yet. I haven't been there when it happened, but I'm going to. I have plenty of things I want to say.
Right.
I happen to like the guy. I think I voted for the current mayor of my neighborhood, but I love that he's making himself accessible. You know what the police do in my town too, which I think is cool. It's called Ask a Cop. Once a month, they go to one of the local coffee shops, and the chief of police sits down in our neighborhood, and you can talk to the cops about what concerns you. I love it. I love the idea of that. Because they're making you, the regular dude, accessible.
Right.
That's where shit happens.
That's huge.
Yeah, and I think that's cool, and I think everybody should do that. Don't sit behind a desk and I'm all fucking high and mighty because I'm an elected official. Listen to the person that fucking voted you in. Listen to the person that didn't vote for you.
Right.
Listen to both. In fact, the one that didn't vote for you, listen to them more because find out why, and you learn from them. So that there's a lot of things can be done, but it's the current system nationally, the big stuff. The governors, the senators, congressmen, president. It's fucking broken. The two-party system is a failure.
I would give anything if a governor had enough balls to be the first highest ranking official that started talking about term limits and change in the Congress, because people would really pay attention to it.
And they'd also knock him down so fast that he probably would never get reelected because it's a threat to them.
Yeah.
It's a threat to their survival, right? That's why we have these guys in office for so long. They can't relinquish power. It's power. It's here. I'm the fucking mighty congressman. I'm the mighty senator. I'm the fucking this and that. I am a Supreme Court justice, right? And do you, let me ask you something. So you're an electrician. Do you want to work when you're 80 years old? Fuck no.
Fuck no.
Okay, neither do I. I don't know what is the point of an 80-year-old man or woman sitting in Congress or the Senate sitting there going, I got to keep working. I got to keep working. Do you, though? You got all the money you need. It's not about money at this point. You've already have plenty of money. So we know it's not that. It's power. You have power.
Yeah.
And when you have power, you never want to give it up and fade off into the sunset. And it's broken. That to me is where the problem lies.
True.
And until they fix that, you're going to be stuck with these guys and girls dying in office and be wheelchaired in like Feinstein, and it's pathetic. And other countries, maybe they have their term limits. I don't know their governments as well, but I guarantee it's not like that.
No.
So
it isn't. All right. Let me see here. So, we've talked about term limits. President and VP elected as non-party and ran as non-party. That doesn't make any sense. I'm not sure why I wrote that. We talked about limits on contributions and campaigns. Needs to be equal for everyone. Supreme Court. Is it possible to depoliticize the Supreme Court?
So here's the thing, right? So you have obviously an odd number in the Supreme Court for a reason, so it's never locked, right? So that there's always a majority votes for whatever it is. But we have laws on how we elect Supreme Court justices where you can only supposedly elect them in the first 3 years of your presidency, not the last year. Okay.
Okay.
And the even though it's been broken a few times where someone dies, someone's retiring, whatever it is. When Trump was in office, he put 3 in, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And the third one was put in his 4th year of office, which is against the rules. And he basically bend the rules and made it so it's his own guy, so he could have his views as the majority. So, what is the answer? The answer. This is why I hate politics, Republican or Democrat, because if you don't like the outcome, change the rules. That's how they do things. Okay. So they said, oh shit, now I got 5 guys that lean to the right now and 4 that lean to the left. What's the answer? We're just going to put more justices in. That's their newest thing, right? They don't think the way I think, so now I got to add more people until they do. Okay. This is how the government always rewrites the rules to suit whoever's in power. There's rules for a reason. And I'm not saying rules shouldn't be changed, but it shouldn't be altered just to make your viewpoint the right
Right.
one. Okay, and that's not how things are done. Otherwise, the vote that you cast on election day is meaningless. We have a checks and balances system, so there is no dictators. Okay, that's what it was created for. Our founding fathers may have been flawed by certain things that they designed our Constitution and Bill of Rights for, but it works. It's that in that level is that we can never have a dictatorship because you have Congress and Senate that has to check you. The system in that basic format works. Okay. Otherwise, you'd have guys that rule with. You'd have a Putin. You'd have a Kim Jong Un.
Yeah.
Rule with impunity.
Yep.
No one can say anything. What I say is law. Otherwise, that's what you get if you don't have a checks and balances system. You have guys like that. So in that aspect, the way it's constructed works. But where it fails is that when you don't like the outcome of something, you alter it to make sure it fits your outcome.
Yeah.
So you're kind of skirting the rules to recreate them for yourself. And that happened with the last justice that he put in. If you're following the letter of the law, the third justice he put in shouldn't have been put in. It should have waited until the next election. But Trump bent it. He bent the rules. And, so now Biden, currently, he's still, if he even knows it, he's still president for the next 6 months, 5 months, right? Whether he is aware of it or not. And now there's a lot of chat where he's going to change the Supreme Court before he exits and rides off into the sunset. And I'm not sure what that means yet, but it's all over the news of how he wants to alter the Supreme Court because he doesn't like the results of the current outcomes of what they're doing. It's funny because if you look at the Supreme Court, they're not this Republican puppet. Some of those rulings are full 7-0. Okay, some of them are every justice is or whatever how many there are 9 or 7 whatever 7 I think they go full majority they full agreement and nobody complains about those because everybody's on the same side. But those are usually like the minor things that somebody has brought a case.
Yep.
It doesn't affect you and me. It's somebody's personal case. It's the big ones, right? Abortion, guns, things that affect a ton of people, right? Those are the ones that become so controversial because they're split down the middle, 5-4, whatever it is. And it is, that changes, I think, as people retire. And the solution to that is what you said. Your term limit, guess what? Fresh blood comes in. The number won't be 5 this way, 4 that way.
Right.
Then all of a sudden, term limit retires, the next one comes in. You shouldn't die in office. Okay?
No. I don't care what office it is.
Yeah, Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Yes.
I mean, this woman, love her or hate her, she was in the Supreme Court till she died. This is fucking crazy. That's not the system. We got guys in there right now in the Supreme Court that are fucking old.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? There's like 3 of them in there that are, I think, well into their 70s, maybe even their 80s. This is not right. And that's how I think it changes from within, is if you change the rules about who's actually there, not the party that elects them.
Well, I mean, I can think about how much my own personal views on different things in life have changed from the age of 20 to 30, 30 to 40,
Yeah.
40 to 52, which I am now, just based on life experience or what the world going on around me.
I'm the same way.
And so, but the more, and I like talking to seniors. I enjoy conversations with seniors. But the more seniors I have talked with, they're kind of set. I don't know at what age you kind of like lock in, but I've seen it happen. I truly believe that at a certain age, you lose, or your stubbornness. I'm not sure what it is that creates it, but you stop that ability to.
You're set in your ways.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you really
so
are.
I go to these coffee shops every weekend, my wife and I. It's like our time. Craziness of the week. We start Saturday and Sunday. We just have a nice morning together. It's our time. It's one of my favorite things to do with her. And we go. I was there this morning. We go to. That's just our thing. And I always talk the same thing. I talk to these old guys. For some reason, I'm like a magnet for these.
Yeah,
guys.
yeah.
I sit there, and my wife always goes, I go to the bathroom, I come back, you have two new old friends. It's fine. And I love these guys. And I love to hear their opinions because these guys have lived a life. They've been in a war, they fought in a war, they've all kinds of shit. There are these two guys, I've never talked to them. I see them in the coffee shop every Saturday. They're probably early 70s, if I had to guess. Well dressed, put together, nice guys. They both wear the same hats every single Saturday when I see them at the coffee shop. One says MAGA, and the other one says Ultra MAGA. And they sit there, and the two of them, and I've sat near them, I've sat further away. Sometimes I kind of hear the guys talking. They just sit there and complain about this candidate, this guy, what's going on in the world. And they sit there, and then one gets in his Tesla and drives away, and the other one gets in his truck, and they drive away. And they're just like, they make me smile because I'm like, I don't care who you're voting for. You don't wear your stupid little hat and fucking, whatever, do you. And then I have these other old guys that I do talk to, these guys every weekend, right? And they're split right down the middle, and it just shows you where but it's like you said, they're set. These guys know what they want, they know who they like, they know what they're doing, and then nothing is going to change their mind.
Nothing.
I am almost 50, and I am old enough to know, wise enough to know, and smart enough to know that the answer doesn't fall in just a letter after your name. Okay? That if you have to be able to think for yourself. You have to be able to be open to ideas, be open to candidates, be open to new ideas, be open to listen to people you don't agree with. Talk to people you don't agree with.
Yeah, I mean,
don't just be friends with the guys that agree with the same shit as you. Listen to people.
I financially, I would fall closer on the conservative side, and but as far as feeling like people should be able to make their own decisions on their own freedoms and the right to choose, and whether it's the LGBTQ community or I'm closer to the left, right? Which is where I really just see myself in the middle, that I can pull from both of you. I don't think that the 10 Commandments should be in a school. I think that we should be more reminding ourselves of the separation of church and state, and attempt to redefine what that means and educate people on no.
I agree with you.
And part of I did a religion episode with this wonderful young lady named Kyra, who born and raised LDS, and she asked me about my personal beliefs, and I said that although I'm not a practicing Jew, that I believe Jesus existed. I don't believe who he is, who you believed him to be, and that in general, the 10 Commandments, if you remove the religious part, if you remove the don't worship, if you don't say the Lord's name, let's just focus on steal, kill, adult, whatever, right? I could take you to a jungle in Congo and have you observe gorillas. And if that gorilla came over and fucked that gorilla's mate, that gorilla is going to kill that gorilla. If that gorilla or if that lion came over and stole the food from this lion's pride, that lion's getting fucking killed. So what you consider 10 Commandments, I consider not even human nature. I consider nature.
Yeah, but there's also something that separates us from them, right? So from man from animal, or humans from animals.
Reasoning.
Right? Yeah, reasoning. We have the ability to sit down like you and I are right now and have a conversation.
True.
We cannot, right? But at the same time, we're governed by a set of rules and laws here that are very antiquated and don't change with the times. So, like you said, separation of church and state. We're actually going the other way now. For a long time, it's not perfect, but it was separate. Besides going to religious schools and shit, which is on purpose, in some areas of the country, are actually going back to that. And they're putting them.
I know.
Yeah. Okay, we're going the other way.
Louisiana.
Yeah, exactly. Mississippi, Louisiana. It's always down south, right? This is where these guys start all this shit. But it's like you had just said, you brought up a good point. So my personal beliefs, okay, don't fall into this neat box of let's say Republican ideas, right? I believe in a woman's right to choose. Okay, I believe in the gay rights. To me, I don't care who you like or love. Give a fuck as long as you're not an asshole.
Yeah.
Right? Don't hurt anybody. Not hurting me. Marry whoever you want.
And if you marry them, then you get all the rights that the man and a woman get. I mean, it's equality.
Yes, it is. And I've always believed this. I go, what do I care if two women or two men marry each other? Do whatever you want. Just if you're happy, go for it. What do I care? What do I care? It has zero effect on my life. Marry whoever you want.
It has zero effect on my life until you think you get special rights.
Right. But what I'm saying is just I know gay couples. I am friends with them. Go do whatever you want.
Yeah.
I literally do not care who you are with, as long as you're not hurting somebody. I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
So do what you want. And so that is not a Republican feeling. That's a more of the left side. When it comes to women's rights, I 100% believe that if it's your body, it's your choice to do what you want with your body. Again, not necessarily a Republican thing. It's your body. It's your body.
Right.
Okay? It's your body to choose what you do with it. So that's why, again, I don't think, like I mentioned, there's no perfect candidate because there's nobody that's going to believe in all the same things I do. You just have to find the one that's the closest.
The closest.
Yeah. So it's like when you have to take, I guess any number is different for anybody, but you have to take the top bunch of items that are the most important to you and find the candidate that actually sort of has those views with you and hope that that's it. Like, obviously for me, it's being somebody that's extremely pro-Israel. I don't want somebody that hates Israel. My family lives there. It's important to me. It may not be two shits to the next guy, but it's important to me.
Mm-hmm.
For my wife, obviously women's rights is a huge right, as it should be. And so you have to find these people, hopefully, that are both sane, not a million years old, and have the correct belief system. But it goes back to what you're saying again. Is an 80-year-old person going to understand gay rights? No. Because they didn't grow up with that or learn that, and they're not going to evolve with it. They're not. So, and I'm not knocking all old people. There's plenty of very smart older people, but do they need to be in office?
No, they're losing the connection of the majority.
Absolutely.
If what you're telling me is that your whole job is to represent the majority or your majority as a candidate, well, at a certain stage of life, you undoubtedly have lost that connection.
Sure.
So have enough respect for your majority to just fucking acknowledge that. Let go of the power, you egomaniac, and we're going to go ahead and give you some limits.
Right. So I think that's where that's where it falls on. But I go back to what I said, where you can't change the top, but you can change the bottom. So locally, that's where I think the difference is, and it's not a perfect solution, but again, it's certainly accessible.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I think the solution starts, and it grows from the bottom up, not from the top down. So when you talk to your local guys, it'll hopefully feed the system above.
Yeah, true.
So at least that's what I think is the solution. So
the current political. Do you think there's a big conspiracy behind the assassination attempt?
I'm not a big conspiracy theory guy. I believe he got shot by some fucking maniac kid, and more will come out. What I think Trump had was the open door to win over the whole country.
And his ego stopped him again.
Yeah. So if you look at that Republican convention in Milwaukee that he had, it started out right. Certainly started out the right way.
He talked a half hour too long.
He talked, I think, like 45 minutes too long. But he came out and he said, and so far he's been accurate about it. He goes, I'm going to talk about this once. And I respect that if that's what he sticks to it. I don't know that he will, but so far, yeah. He goes, I'm going to talk about this once. And anybody, I don't care if you're president or not, if somebody tries to kill you, it's going to fuck you up. And that seemed the most sincere I've ever seen him,
Mm-hmm.
where he spoke from the heart and said, somebody tried to kill me. You know what I mean? You could tell looking at him, this is the most genuine you'll ever see this guy, right? And then from there, still good, he spoke about the firefighter that was killed. Okay. And he went over to the family, brought his uniform there and his helmet, and he kissed the helmet. And I believe all of that was sincere. Everything I believe was from the heart. And that's where it ended. He had the first 20 minutes, and I think he had the entire country at his feet going, holy shit.
I'm voting for this guy.
Yeah, I got this. This is this side and this side, and maybe this is the chance. And then all of a sudden, he stopped looking at the teleprompter in front of him. And he looked at the crowd, and he became Donald Trump again.
Yep.
And love him or hate him, he's his own worst enemy.
He is. I tell that to so many. I say that once a week.
Yeah, he cannot get out of his own way. You can hold all these rallies, and that's great. That's fine. The people who are going to those rallies are the guys who already got their votes.
Yeah.
Okay. You're not changing anybody in that crowd. These are people who are like, fuck, I get a chance to see the president. Fuck yeah, great, cool. Okay, more power to you. He's not winning a vote there. And the same thing goes on the other side. When you go to these rallies, you're not winning a vote. You're hearing the people that are there, the people that are already voting for you. So I think he blew an opportunity to, I guess, unite people, to get the country's so divided right now, more than I've ever seen in my life. And every election, people go this way and that way. That's fine, but never
like this.
Last 10, 12
never
years,
like this.
it's been. And it's not that Trump's this big divider, Biden's this big uniter, or Obama was this big uniter. They're not. They're all the same. They just, some have a bigger mouth than others. Okay, the thing that people love and hate about Trump is that he's not a career politician.
Mm-hmm.
So nobody knew what to do with him when he came to office, right? So I grew up in New York. I met Donald Trump as a child. I met him when I was 13 years old at a bar mitzvah. I went to a bar mitzvah, and his lawyer, Weisselberg, his son was Barry Weisselberg. I knew that kid, and I went to his bar mitzvah. And we're all at this little bar mitzvah party, 13-year-old kid, whatever. And all of a sudden, the whole building starts to shake. A helicopter lands on the roof. It's Donald Trump. Okay? To me, he's not President Donald Trump. He's just the dude in New York who's a big Trump guy, big bucks and buildings, right? He comes in, takes a few pictures, signs a couple matchbooks. I had one somewhere. I still wish I did. And hands a big fat envelope to that kid, takes a few pictures, and off goes the helicopter. Okay? Probably a lot of money in that envelope. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
That's the Donald Trump that when I grew up in New York, people loved him. There's a lot of things that he did that were really good when I was growing up. Okay, people think he hates black people. He did more for the black community. People, if you go look up the things he's done and how he united and things he's done that aren't part of the press, there's a lot to like about that Donald Trump.
Mm-hmm.
The one that you see now is the same problem that everybody has: power. When you get too much power, you think you're invincible, and you instead of talking about what's important to you and what you're passionate about, you spend more time talking about what you hate about the other guy and how bad they are. That all you're doing is, it's just, that guy sucks, that girl sucks, they fucking suck, vote for me. Talk about what you're going to do to solve the problems. Mm-hmm. What's going to, and he missed that opportunity. Instead, at the time, Biden hadn't dropped out yet when the convention was going on. So he spent his whole time talking about how old he is and how feeble he is. We already knew that. I don't need you to talk about it. He wouldn't say his name. Give me a fucking break, okay? Now that that's changed, and in the last 2 weeks now it's Harris and Trump, the narrative's changed, okay?
Well,
now you don't have the age gap thing anymore. Now Trump's the old guy.
I don't think people can say how dumb they think she is, and that she comes across as dumb, which she certainly has in a lot of the things that I've seen, but that's also being manipulated to a certain degree. She definitely has come across like an idiot in some of the way that she speaks. But if she was the attorney general or the prosecutor or whatever, then she's not that stupid.
No, so when she was a prosecutor in California, her knock was that she let BLM protesters that were arrested, got them out of jail. And that pissed a lot of people off. She used to put people in jail that were caught smoking pot. Okay, so she did a lot of things in her own state. So when she ran before, she didn't get a single electoral vote for her own party, not one, not even in her own state. So that should tell you something. I don't think she's the ideal candidate they had. The reason, once Biden dropped out, you had two scenarios. You put a new candidate in and you start from scratch.
You don't get the $100 million bucks.
$240 million.
Is that what it is?
That's
okay.
What it is. It's a war chest. It's $240 million. So you have to start over, and that money gets dispersed back to everybody that donated it. And now with 100 days to go, can you start over with somebody, or do you take the established person
and go with it?
And go and be like, you got the money. She's already vice president. Run with it. So her pitch is going to be, I'm the prosecutor versus the criminal. That's her angle.
I've already heard it. Okay. The felon versus the prosecutor.
Exactly. It's too easy, For him, it's the laughing, cackling idiot who we all hate her wonderful laugh. Okay, to the person that that let protesters out, or the best one is the border czar. Yes, she was put in charge of the border, and yes, she felt miserably, and yes, it's wide open. They arrested 3 Palestinians this morning there. They were members of terrorist groups this morning. Okay, that's on her watch. So are they? They're both flawed. I think they're both not good. I think they both have been propped up by their parties because they think that that's the best solution they have. I think if, like I had mentioned, with 340 million people in this country, if that's the best you can serve me there is those two, we have a lot of problems. They're both, in my opinion, not the answer to government. Mm-hmm. Okay, she has yet to choose her vice president. He has. I'm still learning about J.D. Vance, the little bit I know about him, but I don't want to speak too much out of turn because I don't know about him yet. And I know who she's either going to pick, the guy from Arizona or the governor from Pennsylvania would probably be her two.
Is it Shapiro?
Shapiro from Pennsylvania, or he's
Kelly.
Kelly.
I think she goes Shapiro.
The only reason I don't think she's going to pick Shapiro is because he's Jewish. And we live in a world where Jews are hated, and I don't know that that's a good thing.
He is Jewish?
He's Jewish. But what people don't know is Harris is married to a Jewish man. Her husband's Jewish. So do you think Trump brings that up? Probably not. I don't know that,
Would he be shooting himself in the foot if he tries to play the Jewish card as a negative one?
The Jewish vote is very interesting. It's so split. Historically, the Republicans treat Israel better than Democrats do, historically. But yet, so many prominent Jewish people vote Democrat. And there was a terrorist attack yesterday in Israel where these kids got killed, right? Immediately, 2 minutes later, Trump says all the right things. It's horrific. Nothing came out of them. Nothing. She didn't go publicly speak about it. The White House releases their statement. We're horrified by what had happened. But she didn't go out and say something, And I think, again, it's a missed mark, right? Like Trump missed his mark there. She missed her mark. Mm-hmm. This is where she should say something. At least Biden say something. Somebody say something, right? And so there's just and it's not about necessarily the Jewish vote or whatever. It's just doing the right thing. And I feel like we're just following the same route. One goes this way and one goes this way, and they never run like this. They never run parallel to each other, where some ideas can go here and some ideas can go there. The train tracks are split so far right and left that there's no middle ground anymore in this country. It's a derailment. Yes, it is. There's no all these guys always like to say, I'm going to reach across the aisle and I'm going to. No, they're not. You'll find one or two guys that may come your way, but there used to be a time in this country where you could actually get things done. And I read this thing once before, and I don't know how it would ever work in this country, but it's an interesting idea where whoever wins for president, let's say it's a Republican wins for president, they have to choose their vice president after the election from the other party. Okay? And then halfway through it, switch. It's a crazy idea, but you know what? It's not that shitty. Okay? It's not that horrible. Could it work in this country? Probably not. But it's a pretty ballsy idea.
That's a pretty ballsy idea.
What happened there? You have to listen to somebody from the other side. They're in your fucking office.
Right.
Okay? it'll actually open you may not agree.
Think about those closed door
Yeah,
meetings that
exactly.
we don't hear about.
Right. But it could work. It's crazy. It's a crazy idea. But when I read about it, I was like, no, it's not that horrible of an idea. It's clearly not working the way it is. Maybe this is not a bad idea. Well, I don't believe it'll ever happen, but it's not that bad an idea. So, nobody wants to listen. I like to be able to talk to people because I like to hear what they have to say and make my own opinion. Nobody listens to the other side anymore. And if they do, it's just noise.
Do you think it's significant that Biden stays in office until he's done? Because on the radio they were blowing. I listened to 97.3 FM in our area,
Yeah.
and John Curley, that I don't always agree with, but he was on there, and he was basically, the point he was making. He's like, look, what you just admitted is that whatever's going on with your health or you personally, you stepped out of the campaign,
right?
Because it's too tough. It's just best that you didn't really acknowledge that it's because you're too old, but you're saying you're not capable of campaigning as president. Well, then how can you be president? And then one of the people on the radio with him questioned that, and he's like, if in the next 6 months, if something significant enough happened, and with the world politics the way they are, it's actually it's closer to it than it has been in a long time. So you're telling me that if everyone in his administration comes to him looking for the president who is responsible for making a scary decision, you're telling me that he's capable of making that decision? And then the person that is arguing with him oh, so you're talking about, if aliens come and Will Smith has to get in an F, and Curly interrupts him and goes, no. You want to play this off like I'm talking out of my ass, like this is just complete bullshit.
I get it.
And I'm telling you it isn't bullshit. It is completely possible. So why should he actually remain president for the next 6 months?
I think there's two ways to look at it. One, he just rides off into the sunset over the next 6 months, and he's handled like a puppet, and who knows how long people have been making his decisions.
Jill. Yeah,
exactly. The other one is that the bigger picture that I don't hear as many people talking about, there's a little bits I hear about, is his closest person in his office, besides his wife, would be Kamala Harris. She's his vice president. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
She's not an idiot. She obviously knew he had a mental decline and health decline, physical and mental. So the bigger question that should be asked is, why did she lie and cover it up all this time for seeing something that we all knew? And just now it comes out because they saw that there is no path to win against Donald Trump. So they finally had to pull the plug and make a call.
Especially with the assassination attempt.
Yes. And that debate started to really
rolling. I
watched the debate. I'm interested. I love watching debates. I'm very interested in how they are. And he stared off into the sunset with his mouth wide open, looked like he was lost.
Seriously?
From the very beginning, every time Trump was talking, this was behind like that. Just looking like you were wondering what the fuck he's looking at. And everybody saw the same thing. And it was just like, after that debate, it became very obvious that this is not the dude.
This is not the dude.
And the crazy part is they waited a whole month from that to actually make the decision, because I don't think they knew what to do.
Mm-hmm.
They thought he was going to go in there and just be, everything's great. I'm Joe Biden, but it was bad. So I think the bigger question to ask is why this is one of the biggest cover-ups in the U.S. presidential history of our government. Is you're basically covering up for a president who's not fit to lead mentally.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we've got a president in a wheelchair. That's fine. Okay, but if you're mentally not capable, then you're the dude that carries the football with the nuclear buttons, correct? Okay, you're the dude that has the code that changes every morning. That's scary if you're not physically fit to do it or mentally fit to do it. And they've been covering up for this guy for so long till they couldn't cover up for him anymore. That's the question I would ask. Whether he's fit for the next 6 months, absolutely, it's a valid question. But I think Republicans are playing a very dangerous game by trying to get them to use the 25th Amendment and get him out of office. Do you want, if you're a Republican, to get Kamala Harris 6 months of presidential experience?
You shouldn't.
You shouldn't. If you want them to, if they want to win, you should leave that topic alone. Because all you're doing is putting her in office 6 months earlier and getting her experience.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I think that lies. It's a tough question to answer. Me personally, no, I do not think he's mentally or physically fit to be in office, but I felt that way for years. I also, it's the same, but the same thing happened with Ronald Reagan. If you look at Reagan towards the end of his thing, he had full dementia. I mean, they kept that boy in office way too long. I actually think he was a very good president, but towards the end there, he had no fucking idea what was going on. They left him in office. You know, we do that with leaders because they're afraid to change while they're in office. So that's a tough question. So,
do you think Trump is responsible for January 6th?
No, I don't. I think you have maybe some of the ideas that he had led to it or partially brought it on, but these people acted on their own accord and stormed the building. And, you know, depending on who you watch and what you read and what you look at, they didn't go fucking trash the place. They didn't go, you know, I'm not saying what they did is right. These are government buildings and they should be kept as such. Okay. I don't agree with anybody on any party storming any government building.
No.
Okay. To me, the Senate, the Congress, the Supreme Court, the White House, these are sacred government facilities that are federal buildings, I guess, that you shouldn't touch. And they should belong to the people that are in office, and storming them under any umbrella, whatever your argument is wrong. What I think the problem was there is that he was president, and the amount of security that was there didn't do the job to hold these people back. And do you think anything has changed? Not a fucking thing. Just the other day, Benjamin Netanyahu spoke in front of the House in our U.S. Congress, right? Or wherever he was, Senate, Congress, wherever he was. Outside were a couple dozen federal officers, park rangers, okay, with thousands of protesters. So what they do on federal property, lowered American flags, burned them, and hung Palestinian flags up. Took the statue of Christopher Columbus, spray painted Hamas all over it, destroyed everything in the property, right? And you have a couple dozen officers trying to corral thousands. Where is our National Guard? Where is our police? Where is our federal officer?
Right.
Why are these sites
you should
not
have
protected? Fuck you.
You should have known.
Of course you knew. Of course they know. So now as that happened, they pivoted. And now, so when you go to Pennsylvania Avenue and you want to go to the White House, you can, in this country, which is crazy, you can stand right there. Fucking, there's the house. They pushed that barrier back now across the street. So they made a buffer zone even bigger because they're realizing this is getting a little too close. So, right, wrong, or indifferent, both the current president and the previous one, I don't think did the right job protecting these sacred sites of our government.
True.
Okay. And I feel like that's where he says, I'm going to spend out the National Guard. Well, they weren't there. What happened on January 6th to me, if you have a right to protest, have at it, man. Put up whatever flag you want. I don't give a fuck. But to storm a building where our congressmen are, where our senators are, and whatever, it crosses the line on anything.
It does. I think it was dumb of Trump to spend so much time talking about the election was stolen and all that whole thing. That was dumb.
Down and he loses credibility when he does that.
I truly believe that I was excited when he won.
I voted for him.
I voted for him as well. I thought that he really had the opportunity. I think he let his ego steal the opportunity to become a living fucking legend, and I will die believing that he could have. Was the economy better? Yes. COVID fucked everything up. Yep. Yes. But there was a lot of things that he did that I appreciated. There were some things he did that I was like, There was some things that he said that's like I remember telling my wife, I'm like, at 7:30 p.m. someone needs to take his fucking phone away and.
The president shouldn't sit there tweeting and
no.
This is the highest.
It's the highest office in the land.
Okay, and act like it, no matter who you
act
are.
Like it,
no matter who you are. And he, like I said, there's this image that I think will live on forever, right? And I'm sure you've seen it. He's got blood on his ear. He's got his fist up. He's surrounded by Secret Service, and there's an American flag behind him. I mean, you can't create a better opportunity, completely unscripted, to unite people. And I think for a short moment they were.
They were.
Okay. And I think people are, and it also, I think it hopefully will lower the tone a little bit in this country, at least for the short term. There's so much hate on both sides for each other that something's got to give. And that is as close to now. And I can tell you, I'll ask you the question, even though I was asking me, but I'll ask you a question. What do you think would have happened if they did succeed and he was killed?
I think we would have been as close to a civil war within the next 3 days
100%.
that I think that you would have seen the extreme MAGA and even mild MAGA would have believed that it was a true conspiracy from the left that did it on purpose. And there would have been a real mess in this country. It would still be going on today.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I know I'm not supposed to ask you the questions.
No, I want you to ask me as many as you want.
I think that if that bullet had actually succeeded in what that kid's intent was, and Trump was actually killed, you would have seen people. Most people know there are more guns than people in this country. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
I own a gun, no problem. No big deal to me. Own as many guns as you want. I have no problem with that. It's a right as an American to own a gun. But that single moment has changed American history, but could have changed it in a very different way.
In a very different way.
To the point where you better be walking with that gun on you all day long. And to the point, people, there's gun owners, and then there's gun owners, and then there's gun owners, right? And this would have been like a full war in this country. And I'm glad that bullet missed. I'm glad it just nicked his ear. Fine.
Yes.
Okay. But I think, like you said, I think we came as close as we've ever been to repeating the Civil War in this country. And I'm glad he wasn't killed. Okay. Look, I don't blindly love Donald Trump. Okay. I like a lot of things he says. I hate a lot of things he says. But it goes back to what you said. It's like this two-party system that's just not good.
No.
And I guess you have to like see beyond the stupidity sometimes, but his own flaw is himself.
Mm-hmm.
This is a guy who can't get out of his own way. Sometimes like just shut the fuck up.
Just shut the fuck up
and read the screen. You have very good speechwriters. Okay, most of these candidates do. You have the best of the best, right? Read the fucking teleprompter. And if sometimes you got to go off course, fine. But it always becomes...
It should be minimal.
Yes, but it always becomes this rally. And it's the same thing. It's the same thing. We already know you want to close the border. We already know you're going to end the wars. And that's great. Those are all wonderful things. But the solution, I think, for any candidate is not to attack the other candidate. It's show how you're going to solve the problems of what's existing. Okay? Don't for Harris, if she wants to win, don't go out there attacking Trump.
No.
Go out there and talk how you're going to fix what Biden fucked up. If you're Trump, go talk about fucking how old Biden is. We're done with that. Don't talk about how shitty prosecutor or whatever Harris is. Don't attack it. Talk about how you're going to fix what's broken there. And it's like they don't seem to understand it. As a voter, I want to know how you're going to fix shit, not how you're going to blame them for everything.
No.
And every president says the same thing when they win in office. I inherited a mess. I inherited this. That's the first thing they always say, because when they can't solve, they always go, on day one, I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
No, you're not.
No, you're not.
It's just a rally cry. Don't put out expectations that are realistic. Not on day one you're going to do this. You're going to start when you get into office to fix this, and this. Okay? And don't say, I inherited a problem. These are the problems that are here. Let's fix them. But in order to do that, you got to put your ego aside, actually work with people that don't vote for you. And I don't know how you fix that. It's easier than me talking. It's easier than me talking to you, but it doesn't solve the problem.
It doesn't.
No.
It doesn't.
So.
Well, I'll finish this up by asking you a question that I reckon you don't have the answer to. Would we have as many What would happen if we stopped buying our allies?
Um,
Could are we? Is that just a dumb electrician's
no.
lack of knowledge to
no.
think that that's even possible?
No, it's not. It's actually a very interesting question. So I do have an answer. We should be more selective about who we do business with. We give money to every country in the world, every country, okay, with the exception of probably no, we give money to them too. Iran is the enemy of pretty much everybody. We give billions to those guys, okay, with the exception of maybe North Korea and the Russians, which we probably still have their oil. We give money to everybody, okay, and it's the U.S. loves to buy their way out of problems, okay. So they feed their other countries' economies, defenses, military, governments, whatever it is, to best suit their interests. That's why people love Americans and hate Americans, okay? Depending where you go. We try to influence elections, okay, in other countries. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. We've tried to take over countries' governments. We try to take over countries, okay? We try, but they always try to buy their way into things because we're a capitalist society. That you take a look at the real allies that America has, the real friends, England, France, Israel, real, true people that if shit goes down, these are the Canada, these are countries that are going to have your back. Okay? Mm-hmm. Real, but you notice what they all have in common, they're democratic societies. We give money to our enemies, we give money to terrorist groups, we give money to everybody, but we never take care of your own backyard here. We spend so many trillions and trillions of dollars just throwing money away to these things to try to influence changes over there. It's a very dangerous way to do it. I think the answer to your question is we should be more selective about who we give our money to and who we try to help and influence with, because are they going to have your back? God forbid it happens here. Okay? Those are the people you want to be working with. Those are the people you want to develop and have, military, science, whatever it is with them, and trade. Not everybody. Stop giving everybody money but the Americans' fear is that if we don't do it, the guy you hate is going to do it. It's already happening. It doesn't matter. Okay, look, I'll give you a great example. There's one country I will tell you about that plays all sides and gets away with it. It's Turkey. So the country of Turkey is run by a dictator named Erdogan. That's his last name. They're a member of NATO. They're a member of the UN. Okay? So you think that you're buddies, right? So if shit goes down, they're going to help you out. They hate this country. They hate Israel. They hate everybody. How they became a member of the UN or NATO, I will never understand. Okay? This is a guy, he has Putin in his country for meetings one day, and the next week, the president of the U.S. is there, and 2 days later, the delegation from Hamas is there. Okay? And you want to talk about, and we give them so much money, thinking that because they're our buddies in NATO, right? This and that, they're in it for themselves. Okay? What people don't know, Turkey is one of the most dangerous countries in the world, but people don't talk about them because Iran's the sexy story. Right? We give tons of money to Turkey. There was, like I mentioned, there was a terrorist attack from Lebanon into Israel yesterday where those kids got hurt. Instead of Turkey saying, it's horrible what happened, they said, watch your move because we will invade you like we've invaded others. That was their response. It's a NATO country. Okay?
That's what they were saying to Israel?
Said it today. Said it this morning.
To Israel?
Yeah. Basically, don't attack Lebanon because we'll come attack you. The problem is Israel's not part of NATO, okay? So they can't really, they don't have the leverage right there. They're going to defend themselves. But this is a country but when you're asking that question, we give all this money to all these people, right? We give money to so many assholes and really bad governments and really bad countries. And start taking care of your own people. I'm not saying that it's not good to help other countries. We have plenty that are good. There's a lot of good people out there, a lot of good governments and good countries and allies, real allies. But we give money to a lot of bad people, a lot of bad countries, and we fund a lot of bad shit. And I think that's where the problem is. Be more selective about where your money goes.
If the choice was yours, would you send our military, covert, whatever, and eliminate the Mexican cartels?
I think our job for our military for that question is on our side of the border. Okay, our guys should be on our side of the border. There should be. I'm in favor of the wall. I love the idea. I don't know that it'll ever get built the way he intended 2 years ago. There should be towers every 100 yards. Okay, a true border, like in most countries, that you have a definitive line. The cartels control so much bad shit, drugs, guns,
Human
human trafficking, child trafficking. I mean, it's horrible. They have endless supply of money, endless supply of power on their side of the border, and they come right across if you want to, anytime you want. Okay, our military should be on our soil. The answer, at least to me,
And just drop every one of them.
well, the answer to me is that if anybody that comes across this country, as expensive as it is, should be sent back to their own country. If you're not here illegally, if you're here illegally, okay, we have enough people here. I'm not anti-immigration. I'm anti-illegal immigration. We have enough people here. My parents are immigrants. I'm a first-generation American.
Which is why.
But they came here legally through the process of immigration that we have in place.
And my argument to that is, I don't care whether the wall gets built or not built. I think what should be easier than building the wall, what should be the focus other than the wall, is you need to fix that immigration system.
Yeah, of course. It's very bad.
That it should be streamlined so that it is actually easier to legally get here than to swim across the Rio Grande or to hire a coyote to smuggle you in here. And now you're fucking here illegally. If you actually made it easy for them to accomplish that and make a limit, is it 1 million? Is it 10 million? Is it 20? How many million a year do you? Okay, then create that. Whatever.
Well, we have that already. So there is an actual quota of immigrants that are allowed to come into this country. The problem is that quota applies to the guys coming in legally. Okay, whatever that number is, I don't know, but these are the people that we can absorb into this country. But what people don't understand is,
are we even meeting that quota legally?
Oh yeah,
we are.
Oh, yeah. People come to this. I mean, it's insane. You go to any airport in America any day of the week. There's immigrants coming from all over the world, and most of them truly want just a better life, just like my parents did. They came here legally through the whole process, filled out the paperwork, and became citizens. Just like that. I am the first generation in this country. I love everything about this country that it gave my family, gave me, gives the opportunities. I own a home. I have a job. I have a family. This is all because of hard work and being honest. That's what this country can give you if you take it. But what illegal immigration does, we don't have the resources in this country to absorb the numbers of people that are coming here at such numbers. And they're not, and I'm not saying, dude, a lot of them, probably the good majority of them, actually really just want a better life. But there's a lot of bad people intermixed with those people.
Yeah.
Okay, that come in here, and we don't have the resources to bring these people in. So what do? They get checked out, they get fingerprinted, they take a couple pictures, then you're handed a card that says, in 5 years, you're going to have an appointment with the Immigration Society. Meet us here. And of those people, how many do you think show up? None. Because they're already fucking here. They move wherever they want to be.
They're embedded. 5 years?
Of course. 5 years is usually what the average is before your actual number comes up, before they can actually see you. These people are coming back and, I have my immigration appointment in 2029. Let me go make sure I've got that set up. Fuck, you're never going to see these people again. And
so that should be fixed.
Well, 100%. I mean, we have to have a system that we can actually fix that problem. But the problem is that the numbers that come in at its peak I was listening to just the other day, the most I think they recorded recently is 14,000 people one day.
In one day.
It was the top where it was top. Now it's averaging about 3,000 or 4,000, maybe 5. That is a lot of fucking people. You ever see 3,000 or 4,000 people in a place? It's a lot of fucking people, and that's every day. And that's the ones they know of.
That's the ones they know of.
Okay? The border is 1,000 miles long between Mexico, and probably 85% of it, you can just walk right through it. Now, in the summer, it's harder because it's, you're in the middle of the desert, right? People die over there all the time. It's just like an unmanned, free, open border. The problem is, who the fuck is coming through that you don't know about? Some bad fucking people. Now, I I'm always an optimist about everything in the world, and I always try to think positive. I live by this saying that says, "Don't worry until it's time to worry." That's how I live my whole life by that. But I am worried, and I will tell you this, and I hope I'm wrong. I pray that I'm wrong. The people that are coming, there's some people that come across this border that are going to be here just for the sole purpose of committing some act of terror.
Agreed.
Okay? Whether it's blowing up a building or a bridge or just something really fucking bad. And they're here already. Okay? And I don't know if it's a matter of how it's going to happen. It's just a matter of when. And I know it's going to happen. And I hope I'm wrong. And I hope that I'm overreacting. But I know I'm not. It's going to happen. Okay? And it's not going to be this president's fault or that president's fault. It's the system's fault. The system is broken. I don't care if it's a Republican or Democrat. That border is open. No one has ever been able to figure out a solution, and shit is going to happen. They're here. So how do you fix it? I don't know. I wish I had an answer, but it's bad. And now they found out when certain areas get a little more fortified, the new way in is they're coming through Canada.
Yeah.
So these guys are flying to Canada and then coming in, because guess what? That's a whole other border. And that's not 1,000 miles. That's 2,500 miles. All the way across. Vancouver to Maine. I mean, Washington to Maine. All the way across. It's already happened. So I don't know the answer. Fortunately, we have only two countries that border us, right? Canada and Mexico, excuse me. But that Mexican border is, I don't want to say it worked under Trump. It slowed down under Trump.
It slowed down under Trump.
I like the idea that he proposed, remain in Mexico, but under the Biden administration, they tried this, instead of blocking, let's say, the border or working with Mexico, they went to Guatemala and Panama and Costa and tried to find the root cause of their immigration. We already know what it is. Look at Venezuela, right? It's the worst economy in the world.
Yeah.
So these people leave because they want to come here for a better life, but you don't know what kind of people are with them, right? So you have to have all of the country's governments from Mexico through Central America and into South America all have to be on board.
Yeah, the world...
And they're not.
The world is much different than Ellis Island.
Of course. Yeah.
That's what the fucking problem is. So I understand that we were formed on immigration and that we still support it, and we should, but we should streamline and fix it. But the background checks and the looking into who we're allowing and why we're allowing. I mean, if you're not granted living in Australia or New Zealand unless you're proving that you have something to fucking benefit the country. And we're not them. We accept refugees and we want to help, and that's one of our big things, and I support that. But I also believe what you said. There's people coming here, and they got a plan.
Of course they do.
They got a plan, and they have these little sects that none of us know about, and you can say it's a conspiracy or whatever, but it's true, and it fucking exists.
Yeah, it does. And, and it's not just a United States problem, right? So you look at Europe, for example. When Europe became the EU, and all of a sudden borders were just a border on a map, and everything. If you're a citizen of the EU, you have access to all EU countries. You want to move from France to Spain tomorrow? They don't check you at the border anymore. You have an EU passport. That's fine. That's great. But what it has brought in is they opened up their borders to refugees from the Middle East. It's a lot closer than the United States. I'm not saying they don't come here too, but you have Kurds coming in from Turkey and Iraq. You have people from Iraq, Afghanistan. You have Iranians. You have people from all over the Middle East coming in, completely unvetted, going to Europe, and they picked their places. Okay. You look at some of these Muslim communities in Europe, it's bad. Malmo, Sweden, okay? London, England, Paris, France. These are some of the bigger places Vienna, Austria, okay? These are some of the hot spots where it's like any place in the world, right? You move where you have people that are like you, okay? I went to London on vacation years ago. We're walking, doing the same shit everybody else does. London Bridge, looking at touristy stuff, blah, blah, blah. We turn the corner, And all of a sudden, I could have been in any Muslim country. I was the only white person there. Women with their faces covered, just one block over from the London Bridge, one of the most famous. Everybody knows what the London Bridge is. I want to see it like everybody else. And all of a sudden, I look at my wife. I'm like, we should not be over here. We had to go right back to the next block. It was like you had just walked into Afghanistan or something. And I went to when I turned 30, I went to Vienna for my birthday. We were walking through this beautiful European city, big churches everywhere, and all these cool museums and all that shit. All of a sudden, same thing. You turn this corner, and there's just black veils covering, and you only see the eyes. And this is the results of mass immigration from the Middle East into Europe. It's all over. And the epicenter of it is Malmo, which is a city in Sweden that said, we're going to open our arms to everybody. Come here. That is a no-go zone for anybody that is not Muslim.
Seriously?
Absolutely.
They'll fuck you up.
They will. It is considered the most dangerous place in Europe is Malmo, Sweden.
And why does Sweden tolerate it?
Well, it's too late now. You know, the thought was, look at us. We're so welcoming. Once you say that, they all just come, right? And it's too late. So now these countries in Europe are starting to see, fuck, maybe we should have kind of thought about our little processes here. It's too late. There's communities in France. You look up, I think it's Lyon, France, or whatever. There's areas there that you can't even go. They govern themselves. Like even the police won't go there. There's areas in Europe that are that dangerous and that scary. And this is a result of the same problem we have here when you have an open border. So it's not just an American problem. It's an all over the place problem.
If Ukraine joins NATO, do we have World War III?
Well, so Ukraine can't join NATO, but their rules of NATO are a country can't join NATO in wartime.
Oh.
That's the rules of NATO,
okay.
Which is why they haven't been accepted yet. So it's a pretty easy answer, right? So everybody has to, they will one day, but the war has to be over, and then they can join. You can't join during wartime exactly for that reason.
So Russia will attack them for the next 15 years.
Yeah, look, we're fighting Russia whether we want to agree with it or not. It's our guns out there, it's our tanks out there, it's our planes out there, it's everything but our people. And for all I know, there's probably some of them there too. Okay? It's like they love that term, it's a proxy war, right? So you're fighting with our stuff because it's a mutual enemy. So yes, I mean,
does Russia ever eventually bow up to the?
Yeah, I think
is Russia even capable? I mean, what it proved to me, if Ukraine, even with our stuff, if Ukraine is still defending themselves sufficiently against Russia without the nuclear threat, Russia's a fucking joke.
The problem we have with Ukraine is that we are, because we're giving Ukraine, not just the U.S., I'm talking all these countries, even in Europe, that give Ukraine stuff. The problem that we have, this is where I disagree with it. I have no problem giving them stuff. It's the enemy of your enemy, right? The enemy, not the enemy of your enemy. Russians are everybody's enemy in the free world, right? Mm-hmm. Vladimir Putin is a dictator. If there's a definition of a dictator, he fits
He's
every
a psycho
fucking category of what a dictator is. Okay, endless power, no elections, president for life, controls everything, billionaire, corrupt, everything. It's all right there. Just checks all the boxes. Okay, and the only thing that stops a dictator is their own people. Okay, so until the people from within Russia express their displeasure, that's the only way dictators fall, is when you don't have this. Well, it's two ways, sorry. Your people and the military. If you lose the military, you lose your country. So he has control of all of it. One through fear, one through power. So I think the end of the solution to the Ukraine, this is just my own, I tried to work this out for a couple of years. How do you solve that problem? Look at both sides and what their issues are. Ukraine just wants their country back. Okay, it's pretty cut and dry. Get the fuck out of here, Russia. I want my country back. Leave, including Crimea.
Right.
Okay, which is already a whole other conversation. What does Russia want? A buffer zone between them and NATO countries. So what's the end game? How do you solve the problem? I don't necessarily agree with the solution, but I think this is what the solution is. If you want the thing to end, which I don't think it will, is those border towns that he's attacked. Those could be what they call like a UN neutral zone. He wants his buffer. That's your buffer, but it's not controlled by Russia. It's not controlled by the Ukraine. It's controlled by UN forces.
Yeah.
A buffer, an agreed upon distance. To me, that is not necessarily a loss for Russia or a loss for it's a little bit of a loss for Ukraine because they're losing land, but it's not a win where I get what I want. The problem is it has to include Crimea, has to be part of Ukraine, and they'll never let it happen. So
Russia will never let it happen.
Never. So
because I actually, that's a great idea. I believe that you're right that would work. I doubt that it will. I have in miscellaneous conversations with random people have said if tomorrow Mexico or even Canada or British Columbia and Alberta, whatever, decided they were going to become communist, you don't think the United States of America would just start going over and fucking shit up?
Oh yeah.
So I don't agree with the way Putin handles anything. I think the guy's a fucking total piece of shit. But if for whatever reason, him thinking that it was getting closer to Ukraine joining NATO or something, then that's why he's reacting the way that he is.
Putin's if you ask him what is the biggest failure of Russia in his lifetime, he'll always say when communism fell, in all these countries, Bulgaria, Romania, Hungary, Poland, all of them that were part, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, all these countries that were part of the communist bloc fell and were not controlled by Russia anymore. He said they basically lost half their territory, right? And millions and millions of people with it. So he wants land back. He wants territory back. The writing's on the wall, and thankfully, countries, since this thing has started, countries that said, I'm never going to join NATO, have joined NATO.
Mm-hmm.
Finland borders Russia. Okay, that's one section right there. Finland said, we're free, we're a peaceful country. They saw what's going on. They're like, okay, we're going to join NATO. Norway is like, fuck, shit, man, we're joining too. Sweden, not Norway, sorry, Sweden. Sweden's like, we're joining too. Because the very top, if you look at the map of Sweden, the very, very top borders Russia. Finland this way, Sweden over the top. So all these countries start to realize, like, shit, man, this could happen to us too. Okay, so they're not in a wartime, so they can go and become part of NATO. So they did. And Russia said, if you become NATO, we're going to attack you. And they called their bluff, and he didn't. Okay, which was smart moves by Sweden and smart moves by, the way to get into NATO is every country in NATO has to agree for you to get in. Finland was an easy mark. Nobody hates defense.
Yeah.
Sweden was not easy. So again, who's the one country that causes all the problems in NATO? Turkey. When Sweden said, I want to become a country, or be part of NATO, every country in NATO was like, fuck yeah, we like that, except Turkey. Turkey said, nope, they're not coming in. Because Turkey has a population of Muslims that are enemies of the Kurdish people, which are Iraq and Turkish people that are a minority there that are enemies of Turkey. He said, well, you harbor this Kurdish community. You're not going to be a member of NATO. So they had to go back to the negotiating table. We're not going to do this. We're not going to do that. Shake hands, jerk each other off, whatever it is under the table. And they finally agreed after a year to settle their differences in Sweden and Canada. But they're always the block of that. It's always Turkey. So, Europe, the reason Europe is always at war is because you have this massive block of cultures. Here we got it okay because it was 3 countries in a row, right? It's Canada, US, and Mexico. Everybody borders everybody over there. And these are societies that don't necessarily mix well.
Mm.
Western Europe is a little more peaceful. Then you get to the Balkans, right? And you get to these countries like Serbia and Montenegro and Macedonia and the Bosnians or whatever. Do you think they get along right now? They all fucking hate each other. They're still fighting. Always, you look up history of Serbia and Kosovo and Bosnia. These guys, in a minute, will raise arms and kill each other. They just happen to be at peace right now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Europe will always be the unstable ground because it's a clash of so many cultures in such a small area. And Russia is always going to be this dark shadow that looms over Europe because it wants more and more land.
Yeah.
So you look, the most vulnerable countries right now in Europe, besides the Ukraine, is the Baltics. It's Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia. And I've been to all three of them. I've been to all three of those countries. They are beautiful. But they're right there on the border with Israel, with Russia. They're these tiny, tiny little countries. Yes, they're members of NATO, but honestly, if Vladimir Putin said today, I am going to go attack Lithuania today, he'd have that country 3 days before NATO got their shit together. I'm not saying they wouldn't counterpunch and come back, but he could have that in 3 days. He just knows that they would counterpunch it.
Yeah.
And back to what you were saying, my issue with, as us, U.S. and all these other countries giving Ukraine weapons, I have no problem with that. But we're not letting them use the weapons they want to use. They want to be able to attack Russia.
And we won't let them.
We'll only let them attack Russian soil on a military target only. Russia can attack anything they want in the Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
But Ukraine can attack any Russians they want in Ukraine. That's fair game. They invaded your country. But they can only attack these military installations in Russia. Okay, and I'm not saying go kill innocent people, but fuck, man, go hit some high-profile targets.
Yeah,
bomb some bridges, go bomb some shit that's symbolic, and turn the tide.
Go knock out a power plant in fucking
exactly.
Yeah.
It's not about killing innocent people, but you got to go hit these targets, right? And they're not allowed to do that, and I think that's holding back. Maybe it holds back Russia a little bit, but maybe it's holding back Ukraine from getting their shit back. So I don't. There's no real solution to that, I don't think, but that's where they're at right now.
Lastly, how would you characterize the United States' relations with China?
I think that the United States is trying to play both sides with China. They first take it from like trade, right? Take this room. I bet half the shit in this room is from China. Okay? Right? Fair enough?
Yeah.
Okay. So we need them, whether we say we do or not. Things are made cheaper there. They have access to lithium that we don't. All your cell phones or your computers, all that shit, chips in there, all that shit comes from there. So we need them more than they need us, but we need each other. So when you're talking about trade, I have no problem with the tariffs on Chinese goods coming in because it makes things more American. I wish that the United States would push this made in America thing more. Okay, we're both in the same industry, right? I love when I see jobs that have to be made in America. I love that shit. We need more of that in the country. Okay, it'll bring this. We used to be this like powerhouse, right? We made everything here, make nothing here anymore.
Make nothing here anymore.
Yeah, and I think that's a big problem to push industry back into this country, where it affects where China is a military and capital, financial superpower that you can't ignore. Like the big topic with China right now is Taiwan, right? They surround Taiwan. The U.S. goes there. Something is going to happen there. China's been building these little islands all over the South China Sea, right in the ocean, dumping rocks and sand.
Like Dubai.
Building exactly all over the place, only for military because it's a land grab. And remember, if your country is here, your water line, your border is that many miles from that. You build an island all of a sudden out here, now your line is there. You build an island here. So they're expanding their maritime border and their land border by building new land. Okay? Which is crazy, but that's what they're doing.
Yeah.
Only for the purpose of military. That's it. So we're not doing anything about it because we can't really do anything about it. We're not going to attack China. We're not going to go to war with China. You go to war with China, you go to war with Russia and North Korea and Iran all at the same time.
Yep.
So
who are all nuclear.
Right. All of them are. Look at who your enemy's bedfellows are, right? Look at who they're in bed with. China plays both sides. They come to America, they shake hands, they're great buddies. The next day they're over in Russia meeting with Putin. The same guys are dealing with Iran, the same guys are dealing with North Korea, right? North Korea is now making weapons for Russia. As pathetic as that sounds, they're doing that for them. Okay, so look at who your enemies are hanging out with to know where you stand. So
I know that China has nuclear submarines now. They have an aircraft carrier that is equal to our biggest, newest aircraft carrier.
We have the most aircraft carriers in the world. I think they have only 2 or 3. We have like 20.
Yeah.
Which is a very nice deterrent, but They have. I think the reason nobody's killing anybody is we all have nuclear weapons. You're not accomplishing anything, right? It's a deterrent to a bigger war, but you face proxy wars, right? So that's why you always see North Korea launching missiles, right? They're just trying to get nobody wants to go to war with North Korea. They don't mean anything to anybody, okay? But he wants to be important. Kim Jong Un.
Yeah.
So he just keeps, look what I got. Don't talk with me. Look what I got.
Fucking moron.
Yeah. The only threat to North Korea is South Korea and himself. That's the only two things that threaten, But China is I think, Xi Jinping, the president of China, is a very calculated guy and a very powerful guy. And I think he knows how to play all sides. He also knows that he holds a lot of cards. He's not if the United States does something, the whole world goes after him. China does something, oh, that's just China. That's what they do. Just like Russia, they're not held to the same regard because they don't give a shit. We have to answer to the Western society. They don't have to answer to anybody. So I think they have a lot more leverage that way. We follow a set of human rules.
I was just going to say that we somehow follow a set of rules that no other country, whether it's war or whatever, we're somehow police ourselves on the rules of engagement and the rule.
Perfect way to say it. We police ourselves sometimes for the right reasons, sometimes for the wrong. We hold back. Where these countries have no accountability to
zero.
We're accountable to everybody because we are supposed to be here. We are the standard. We're supposed to be this. And at the same time, because they hold you this regard, you are the United States. Okay? It limits decision making, right or wrong, on some things that happen. And I think China doesn't answer to anybody. Russia doesn't answer to anybody. They answer to themselves. That's it. And you have two people. You just take Putin and Xi Jinping of China. You take those two guys. The two of them control so much in the world through being a dictator that the two of them could end the world in one phone call if they chose.
Right.
Full world war in 2 seconds if they chose. So, and that's a scary thing to have two people have that much power. Even one of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, they threaten back and forth, especially
a U.S. president doesn't Trump. So people that try to act like Trump is a big enough psycho that he could literally do that and just end the world. Yeah. That a U.S. president can't just all of a sudden push that button and now we're gone.
It's called the football, right? That's what they call the U.S. this briefcase that they carry. They call it the football. And every day the codes change for the United States president and the nuclear codes change, right? That's as much as they tell you. The rest of it, who knows? I highly doubt that guys are walking around with this little briefcase and it's got this, okay, let's launch the bombs. Here we go. Where are we going? Okay, hit it. There is a checks and balances system. The president, sure, he can make the call, but he has he has a team of very, very highly skilled generals. Republican or Democrat, doesn't matter. Republican or Democrat. These are generals and military people that are at the highest level of security that are going to help the president make the right decisions. Okay?
And if they thought that he had just lost it and was going to do this, they'd be like, oh, the five of them would be like, fuck no.
Exactly. These are not, listen, Trump may be a lot of things, not an idiot. He may say stupid shit. Biden may say stupid shit. But these are people that have people with them and behind them and part of their groups that are their cabinets, right? That they're there to make those decisions for him. He's just the face of those decisions. We like I mentioned before, we have a good system of government in the respect that we have checks and balances. Okay, because without it, you are those countries. You are the Russias and the Chinas of the world. Nobody's checking their decisions. People check ours. So. And without it, you create a dictatorship, and that's why we don't have that. Or you create kingdoms. That's why we don't have kings. That's why we fought for freedom, because we didn't want to be kings. Kings have power that way. We have a government that is as flawed as things are. That part of it actually works most of the time.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Yeah. So,
all right. Well, we've covered a lot. Two awesome discussions.
Yeah, this was good day.
I appreciate you making the drive.
Yeah.
and coming up and hanging out in the humble LMF studios and having we recorded we're wearing the same clothes of a previous episode where we got to talk about Judaism and in life in Israel and in other things. So
thank you for inviting me. It's been a privilege and honor to be here. I really do. This was cool. This was very cool.
So thank you very much.
Yeah.
We're checking out. See you next time.
Thanks, Todd.